Brother-in-law's girlfriend is a disrespectful vegetarian brat. Am I wrong for banning her from my house? BIL, M19, and his GF F20 are treating husband and myself like we are hosting Christmas when he came to us to ask if his GF could come over for Xmas Eve and Xmas. We are not hosting, and now this is an issue. I, F30, and my husband, M29, have been together 10 years. Married 5 of those. The last 3 years we have been making our own traditions as my in-laws' dynamic is incredibly toxic. And this is our first home, and we'd like to incorporate a little bit of ourselves into our new traditions. So we now cook for my entire family and ourselves and deliver it throughout the day of the holiday. A couple of weeks ago, my BIL, M19, graduated trade school and moved back in with us. He asked us if it was okay if his GF, F20, came over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. We said not a problem. Well, last night it did become a problem. Bill's GF is a vegetarian. I put this in quotations as all I've ever seen her eat is mac and cheese and pizza. We decided we're making loaded mashed jalapeno poppers, stuffed mushrooms, deviled eggs, sweet potato casserole, candied yams, and ham. We have in the past tried accommodating BIL's GFS diet in the past, and it was a complete waste of time as she refused to eat anything we made. All vegetarian-based. So we learned a few months ago we are not catering to her difficult nature. It's not about diet. She's a pain in the butt. Last night it came up that we aren't make mac and cheese. We made the viral tiny mac and cheese for Thanksgiving. We decided to remake the dishes from Thanksgiving that got the most love and compliments, the ones that people most enjoyed. Most of our dishes having lots of cheese in them as well as carbs, we didn't want to add the mac and cheese. This girl lost her mind last night. She raised her voice and kept yelling, "What am I supposed to eat? There's no mac and cheese." She was insistent and berating my bill until my husband stepped in and reminded her they're adults and could go to the store in the morning to make their own. She didn't like this and continued complaining, so I jumped in and said that there is boxed mac and cheese they can make themselves. She then saw my husband was drinking last night and took it upon herself to tell him to go get her the pink stuff my mom always drinks. I informed her that she is 1, underage, and 2. If she's on medication, she shouldn't mix alcohol with them. She rolled her eyes at me as brother-in-law pointed to me like, "That what she said?" She then blew me off and continued to talk to my BIL to figure out the pink stuff her mom's always drinking. I want to add that his GF is high-functioning autistic. I'm not sure if this behavior is partially due to that, or if she's just a spoiled, rotten brat who's never heard no in her entire life, but I do not want this behavior in my household ever again. How the heck can I better navigate the situation while she's still here for the next 2 days? I'm so close to finding a dog-friendly hotel and just going there with my dog and husband until Bill takes his GF back home. AITA for telling him when he takes her home that will be the last time she's welcome here? Or do I keep quiet until he asks if she can spend the night here in the future, to which we can kindly decline? Update. Husband took Bill outside Wednesday night alone and had a good conversation with him. Husband was actually a bit upset at how well Bill took the fact that they were being told to leave Thursday. He let Bill know him blowing off my texts, saying one thing to his GF expecting something out of us without communicating it could have saved him a big unnecessary problem, and that due to his lack of communication and our plans, they needed to leave. So they left Thursday afternoon. I stopped acknowledging the GF after Thursday morning when I said good morning to the 2 of them. I'll be honest, I had a lapse in better judgment, and after being blown off as she is looking me directly in my eyes, raised my voice a bit and said, "Okay, I'll just go F myself then." We intend on sitting down and having a serious conversation with BIL when he gets home tomorrow. If anyone has any suggestions or things that stick out to them that they'd not allow to go unaddressed, please let me know. We will be taking him off our EZ pass. He has a month to get his own phone plan, and he will be paying rent weekly, and then maybe as some time goes on, and he can be trusted, we will change that to monthly. He struggled with monthly rent while away at school for whatever the reason may be. Boundaries regarding his GF, although now that he will be responsible for the tolls, $40, $50 each way. If he visits, I don't believe he will be bringing her back, as we will only allow 2 nights max per visit, and as of now, only on weekends. Pre-approved, and no last second changing a 2-day stay to a 5-day stay, as that isn't tolerated and they will be asked to leave like they were this time around. The immediate switch for BIL and respect towards me was immediately evident. Ran to get the trash cans out BC of the holidays. The days were messed up and he had forgotten. He's only been back 3 weeks. It's understandable trash goes out 1x a week, a change since he last lived with us when it was 2x a week, and then came inside to ask if he should bring recycling out as well, like jumping to help out after having consequences to his actions, which was a relief. BC it reaffirmed he is willing, and it is just that structure and boundaries he is so lacking and needing. I will try my best to update how our conversation goes. Thank you everyone who took the time to give this post the time of day. Update as of 12/31/2024. Last night, Bill brought to our attention that his GF is very upset she doesn't feel we communicate with her or try to get to know her. My husband and I quickly responded that respect and communication work both ways. From the moment I introduced myself to her, his GF has blown me off and hasn't acknowledged me once. I even went so far as to run to a metaphysical shop. When I saw her interest in my crystals, I brought all of my crystals, tarot cards and astrology books down for her to show I was paying attention and listening to her interests. It seems no matter what we do in this situation, we are in the wrong. So halfway through her stay last week, I opted to ignore her. From good morning to no thank you for her gifts or hospitality, no goodbye, the constant demands for alcohol or mac and cheese. We don't know the girl enough to not like her, but I do not like her behavior. It's childish, obnoxious, and demanding. We pointed out how every single time she has come to visit, she has blown both myself and my husband off. I don't understand what it is Bill is asking of us. We are not his parents. It isn't our responsibility to play 21 questions to get to know her. Because if I'm being completely honest, I personally do not care. I have enough of my own personal things going on than to be worrying myself with how to carefully try and communicate with my BL's GF. I don't have an issue communicating, she does. In order for a conversation to take place, two parties gotta partake in the conversation. I'm happy Bill brought up the conversation regarding respect BC. I called out his very disrespectful behavior as well as his GFS. It kinda rubbed me the wrong way, Beak here. He is demanding we respect his GF, yet hadn't shown an ounce from the moment he moved back in about a month ago. My husband and myself are giving ourselves the day to reflect on the discussion we all had last night, and we'll revisit sometime this weekend. I've already gotten my list of house guidelines, our expectations ready going forward. This includes him being responsible for any guests he brings to the house. I also called out the entire mac and cheese ordeal and how inappropriate it was to behave that way. That isn't how adults communicate. Unfortunately, I see his GF being the beginning of his downfall. He begins his dream job next week, and I fear it isn't going to last long due to the demands of his helpless GF. I am a bit peeved this morning, so this update may be a bit judgmental and snippy, but I'm yet again at a loss for words. The audacity, I guess. Update 2. Hey all. It's been a little over a month since my last post, and figured I'd share the latest update for those who are interested in the outcome of this situation. The beginning of January, my F30, Bill M20, started his dream career. A month to the date after graduating, we are incredibly proud. The only problem? This job is an hour-and-a-half commute one way on a good traffic day. It's a lot of commuting. His first week he loved it. He was sending my husband M29 pics and videos throughout the week of vehicles that were in the shop he thought were cool, or videos of him learning something new. He's currently doing maintenance work at the dealership he's working at, but intends on furthering his career and continuing his education through work and through other programs offered for different certificates. He leaves at 5:30 every morning and was originally getting home anywhere from 6:45–7:30 at night. He works 5 days a week, soon to be 6. His GFF20 lives 2 hours from us, 3 hours from his job. Every Friday he leaves to visit her, sometimes from work. Other times he comes all the way home to shower. She's in college, and I'm assuming he can't shower there. And then makes the trip to her house, leaving him driving minimally 5 hours in just one day. He then comes home Sunday to restart his work week. Due to the above, we have not seen his GF since. It would be an insane amount of driving for my BIL to bring her back home. Why is he responsible for all of the driving, you may ask? She refuses to get her license. Yes, flat out refuses at this point, as it has become a pressing issue in their relationship and, quite honestly, my Bill's overall well-being. In the last 3 weeks, this is what I have noticed and experienced. BIL has been getting home at 6:15 every day. It's absolutely possible he found the right route and perfect time to have a smooth commute. However, when he gets home, he is flying. We live in a neighborhood that's 25 meters and blasting very loud and angry music. No judgment, I listen to the exact same kind of music. He has been slamming doors, drawers, and cabinets, heavy sighing constantly. And when he is asked about his day and how work was, we were hit annoyedly with boring. He also blasted the same angry kind of music Sunday night despite knowing my husband and I were in the next room, the living room, watching a movie, just being inconsiderate, some context, and it may sound silly. But he is so to himself and introverted, I honest to God wasn't even sure he listened to music, especially the kind he's been listening to. He also stopped showering daily. What I'm getting at here is all of these things are incredibly out of character for him. Every single night he has what we all refer to as his appointment with his GF, as she calls every night. With every passing day, his frustration and annoyance regarding these phone calls was becoming glaringly apparent. Things really came to a head when 2 nights ago we asked how work was and he said, "Terrible." Enough was enough, and my husband and myself had a much-needed heart-to-heart with my BIL. We expressed our concern for his well-being and recognize he's incredibly overwhelmed. His GF demands he visits her every single weekend, and if he doesn't, she will get really upset. When we asked when he intended to take a self-care day for himself, as over the last few weeks, my husband vehemently expressed to Bill that if he didn't pick a day to rest, his body would pick for him, and that very rarely ever happens at a convenient time. Bill stated he didn't want to lie, and it wasn't a valid reason to not visit to catch up on rest and check in with himself. I shared my top 3 concerns with him. 1. I do not want him, due to lack of rest, getting into a car accident with his long commutes. 2. I don't want him to make a mistake at work and end up injured, or worse, as he works on vehicles. One small mistake and you can end up squished underneath of a car, or ends up getting fired. He's going to lose his shit on his GF, and we know he doesn't want to do that, nor would he mean it. I inquired about his GF getting her license, and he said that she'd consider it. I asked him WTF that means. He said he has no idea, very clearly aggravated at the topic, not towards me, the topic itself. I asked him what was stopping her from getting it. She's turning 21 this summer. He told me she's afraid she'll get distracted and crash. I asked what she would get so distracted by that it'd affect her driving. With some thinking, he says, a dog. I'm pretty sure he is just relaying what it is she's using as excuses without actually putting any thought into it and just accepting it as fact. I challenged it, and inevitably he agreed that she needed to get her license, as he was not going to get a place with her until she does so. I doubt he's had this discussion with his GF yet. That's okay. Yesterday I did my research for the state she lives in as to how to get her license. Obviously you must get a permit first. Perfect. I made up about 50 index cards, illustrations included where I could, to help her study for and take her permit test. Unless she goes to driving school, she has to have her permit for 6 months and then can test for her license. Does it solve her driving immediately or as soon as we'd like? No. But I'm hoping that if she's unwilling to even do this, my BIL can wake up and see that this is hardly a relationship and is unsustainable. Last night I gave him the index cards and explained to him how to go about helping her. I also expressed that despite the pushback and resistance he'd receive, he is not to back down, as he isn't pushing her license. He's asking her to get her permit, which would be a step towards her being able to get her license. She refuses to get her license right now? So be it. She can get her permit. It's an 18-question test and you need 15 correct to pass. No driving involved. If she is unwilling to do this, I'm hoping he can see this isn't the person for him. He needs a partnership, not a dependent. After our first conversation this week, the heart-to-heart, things became much lighter in my home. My BIL was more cheerful and talkative and not so reserved to himself, or isolating essentially. Then, after last night's conversation, I asked when his appointment was. When I tell you, his response contained more F words than any other words. To be honest, I'm not even sure what he said other than F-bombing every other word, clearly getting fed up. He explained he's told her he's going to shower and eat, but yet again, her call interrupted him mid-dinner, and rather than just letting it ring her angrily, got up and went to his bedroom. That was at 8:15 and he never came back out of his room. This is the norm, and a huge part of the reason he is sleep-deprived, as well as not taking any time for himself. He also shared how his GF says he has terrible taste in vehicles, which seemed to upset my BIL when he told me. I pointed out, how the F does she know anything about cars? She refuses to drive. And he got all excited and I guess was validated and reassured BC. He was like, right, exactly. Then the phone call came and away he went. I'm hoping in the next few weeks we can help him understand and establish appropriate and healthy boundaries for himself. IDK why he's answering those calls when his GF talks to him like that. I'll be sure to update if there's any progress on his GFSN, but I doubt there will be, and hope that if that is the case, my BIL is capable of doing what's best for himself. Story 2. My mother-in-law wants to live with us for 6 months, but I don't want her to ruin our life. My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, and our son is 10 months old. We live in Canada. I grew up here while my husband immigrated when he was a student. My parents live nearby, which has been invaluable during my pregnancy and since. My mom comes over regularly to help us out. My husband and her are on good terms too, so it's been going well. His parents live in another country. We have visited them once since we got married. That was 7 months ago. The time prior to that was our wedding itself, which took place there. My husband had been talking about my MIL visiting soon for a long visit, which I was happy with. We recently moved into our new house. I've done a good job decorating it. We have a large guest room, and I was looking forward to hosting her, especially since it would make my husband happy. A couple of days ago, he was complaining about how detailed her visa application was. I told him I was surprised it was so thorough. He told me that it's because while regular visa forms allow a stay of 6 months max, this one allows 2 years. I asked why would she need a stay of more than 6 months. He said that she had been thinking of winding up her medical practice and basically retiring, and this would then allow her to stay for a longer visit if we all decide that it works. I was stunned. I told him he should just do the regular app because his mom won't be staying for anywhere close to 6 months. I had it in my mind that she'd be staying for like a month. That's how long we stayed for when we went there. He said that's his mom. She tells him how alone she feels. She can't go to my BILs because he lives with roommates, and we can't just put a timer on her visit here. He said she's been looking forward to helping us out with our son. I told him we don't need help, we manage fine on our own and with my mom's help. I wanted to host his mom as a guest, not as a part of our household. He complained that how was it fair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while his can't. I was hurt by that, because my parents have helped us out a lot, and I asked him if he wants us to limit how often my mom comes to visit. He said no, that's not what he meant, that he likes her, but it wasn't fair to his parents. My reply was that when my mom comes, she goes at the end of the day. That wouldn't be the case with his. I ended it by saying he should look into the easier regular form, because she can't be thinking of staying for that long. He chose to sleep on the couch that night and has been cold with me since. I hate that. We've never been cold to each other like this. I talked to my mom too. She said that having his mom live with us for long stretches would definitely affect me, that this is worth fighting for. I haven't seen him working on the application since. Last night he went out when his mom called. When he came back, I asked him how she took it. He told me he had told her he's looking into what application best suits her. He asked me if I'd changed my mind. I said no. He just shook his head and started watching TV. AITA? Update 1. Thank you for the feedback in the original post. Yesterday, when he came back from work, I tried to start the conversation again. He had been giving me the cold shoulder since all this started. I told him I'm his wife of 2 years and the mother of his child. This isn't how we're going to communicate. We started talking after that. I held my ground that his mom staying with us for so long wasn't tenable. If she wanted to visit Canada for longer than a couple of months, she would have to live in her own apartment, learn how to drive, or use public transport. She's used to being driven by a hired driver in Pakistan. And a whole bunch of other changes that she'd need to get used to. That I don't see myself changing my mind on this, so he needs to be honest with her and himself, and not go down the we'll keep our options open route. He said that he knows her living with us for an extended stay would require some changes on our part, but he was asking me to do this as a favor to him, that I claim to love him, and yet can't do him this favor for his mom. I actually started sobbing when he said this. It was so hurtful that he was using this as a litmus test for our love. I said her being around for years would ruin our parenthood with our first child, that I want us to raise our child the way we see fit, not his mom. Also, all the intimate moments we have, our sex life, everything would suffer. My parents are Pakistani too. I know this will happen. He again asked me to just not shut the door completely, that he'll tell his mom the stay can only be for a month or so, and I can let him know if I think the change wasn't too much, and we landed on a compromise that for now they'll do the regular visa app that only allows a max stay of 6 months. If I change my mind, he'll do the super visa. He then had a long call with his mom, which his older sister also joined. It actually lasted an hour and a half. He was in the backyard for the call and came back in to grab a chair. It was that long. Also, from what I could see, he was mostly listening for that convo. When he came back in, he told me to just not answer any calls or messages from his mom or sister. Meanwhile, I've received like 4 missed calls and 20 messages from them, mostly Islamic quotes about the rights of parents. I've told them that I can't talk right now since I'm busy with my son right now. I asked him how it went. He said as well as he expected. But he's not giving me the cold shoulder anymore. I do feel guilty because, like I said, I was actually looking forward to host her for a month. And I think this whole thing may have caused irreparable damage not just to my relationship with my Mile and Sil, but my husband's relationship with his mom and sister. I've told my MIL I'll call her back in a couple of hours once my husband's back. I'm dreading that conversation, but I know what my boundaries are. Thank you for the feedback. It helped. I'm not sure how these updates work. I had edited it over there too, but someone had PM'd me saying an update needs to be a separate post rather than edit. This is just for those people who had given me a lot of great advice on holding the line and had asked for an update to my phone call with my MIL. Update 2. I spoke to my MIL. Since her missed calls and text messages were asking me to call her, I figured I should be the one to call, not my husband. But I put my phone on speaker so that my husband, who was lying on the couch, could also hear it. She said that my husband had told her he thought it'd be best if she restricts her trip to 1 month, since it was her first time in Canada, and because we were really busy with my son. She said that ever since my husband had gone to Canada as an 18-year-old, he'd always wanted her to visit for a long duration, and now all of a sudden he was asking her to restrict it when she wanted to help with her grandson, and said she knew I must be the reason why. I said it was a joint decision because of the circumstances, but she wouldn't hear of it. She said if her visiting for more than a month was so outrageous to us, then that's fine, she'll limit her stay. But I should know that in Pakistan, in-laws live in the same house with the married couple, like my Esil does, and that she had thought I was in touch with my Islamic and Pakistani roots when I was getting married, because that's what my husband had told her. but she was disappointed at how whitewashed I was. At this point, my husband asked me to give him the phone, but not before I told her that I was totally comfortable with how in tune with my heritage I was, and that apparently so was her son. Told her my husband had just come and handed him the phone. My husband went in the yard to talk, but I was so angry I decided to eavesdrop. He was talking to both my MIL and FIL. He told them that it's not like he fled to Canada in the middle of the night as a student. They both had happily seen him off at the airport, and that when he had introduced me, he hadn't kept the fact that I was born and raised in Canada a secret either, that they can't expect to treat us like a couple in Pakistan. Then he listened a whole lot for like half an hour. I gave him a chair again, and kept telling them that it's different now. They ended the call, with him saying that we were both really looking forward to her visit, that we'll make sure it's a great 30 or so days with us and her grandson. He apologized to me on behalf of his mom and asked me to please let her lecture go and still be on board with the 1-month plan. I'm looking forward to it much less than I was, but I said fine. Thanks a lot again for the advice. Along with my mother, I was able to get good advice from here too. And I think I've managed to resolve this issue. I know myself, I know my MIL staying over for years wasn't something I could deal with, and knowing a lot of people agreed was really helpful.